Hello everyone, it's Miss Darling in the studio. Welcome. Welcome back if you've been with me before, and welcome if you're brand new. I hope you'll stick around for a while and stay with me as we explore how to make specifically tags and do it in a quick and easy manner using our gel plate and a pair of scissors and the paper, and that's about it. So let me show you what I've done. I made some already, and here's an example. Now these are very neutral. Here's an envelope with some small ephemera stuck in, and that's the back of it, and it's been decorated just a tiny bit. For the most part, these are just raw. This is how they came off the jelly plate, and then I cut them up. This is a pocket that has these flaps on the back that you can glue down so you can stick something thicker inside that. Here's could be a bookmark, or it could be cut up and used in some other way. Here is the back of a postcard, and this was the design that was done on the gel plate and then glued to a postcard that's been pre-printed. So this could use some more decoration, and I probably will add more to it, but I just wanted you to see how it came off the gel plate in its raw form. And then these are the raw forms of smaller tags. Here's a bunch, and I'll show you how easy it was to do all of this in a matter of a few minutes. Decorate them with the gel plate was very quick and easy, and then it was just a matter of cutting them out. And so you'll see what I mean in a minute. And then here are some taller tags. You can see there's a difference in color depending on what was on the plate. And then these two here are a little bit bigger. And so just wanted you to see how much I got off of this method in just a very few minutes of effort. So I'm going to clear this off, and then we'll actually do exactly the same thing I did. They're not going to come out looking at all like this. You can never reproduce this exactly. You can just maybe use some of the same paint or ink, but they're always going to come out as a one-of-a-kind original ephemera, no matter what you do. So okay, I'm going to lift this up, and we'll get my ugly looking working surface here. And I'm going to put down, this is my gel plate. It's a 9x12, which will be slightly bigger than, a sheet of paper. And so I want to get full coverage on the sheets, and so that's why I'm using this size. Okay, now here are the sheets that I'm going to do, and I have pre-printed my templates on each sheet, and each sheet is a little different. You can see these are all tags except for these two pieces down here. And so that's one sheet. Here's a sheet with three large tags. Here's another sheet with tags with the holes marked, and then there's some smaller ephemera around the edge. Here we've got some circles for making circled clusters, and having a nice design on them already. And then you can see we've got a couple of smaller tags and a large tag and a bookmark over here. And then here's the sheet from which I got the, you know, the little pocket and then the bigger pocket and the makings for a postcard. Unfortunately, I drew this a little bit small. It's not an exact 4x6. At least I don't think so. But anyway, it gave me a little bit of space on the back of the actual postcard, which now has a little bit of a white border. Okay, I've got my gel plate here, and I'm going to use different paints. I'm going to stay in probably a fairly similar, no, not so similar. I don't need any more ephemera in the particular colors that I used the last time. So I want to change it up a bit, and we'll just play around and see what we get. So I'm going to start with this, a little bit of this terracotta. And I'm going to add a little bit of cream. And we'll try some of this called Mud Splat. I don't think I've used this before, but I don't recall. Ooh, I think I got too much. So, we'll have to do some cleanup. I don't know exactly where my templates are, so I have to just kind of squiggle everything around in random fashion, and then we'll see what we get. I hope I don't have too much on here. So here's my first sheet, and I'm going to turn that upside down, and we'll see what we pick up. Might be nice and might be just muddy and awful. You never know. That's what's kind of the fun of doing this. Pull up slowly. Now, I printed my templates off on 20-pound bond, and I shouldn't have done that because it's just way too thin for tags. So when this dries, I'm going to have to glue it down to some cardstock. And if I were to do this again, I would go ahead and print the templates off on cardstock itself and eliminate that step. So if you try this, I would advise you use cardstock. Okay, I got some of that up. That brown was kind of overkill. So I'm going to spray on some Distress spray stain in Faded Jeans and get a little blue out here. And I think we'll just kind of, I don't want that to be splotchy. So we'll kind of do that. Maybe add a little bit of this antique bronze. And this I'm going to leave that part blotchy. And let's see what we get. Could be beautiful, could be ugly. That's the fun of a gel plate. You just can't predict. You can, have an idea if you've worked a lot with a specific palette that you're very familiar with, but anytime you add something new to the mix, you're going to get a different outcome that will likely surprise you. Okay, it's nice and splotchy. I like that because once I cut the tags out, it's going to look a lot different than it does right now. But I think maybe I'd like a little more blue there, so we'll just add a little more with some spray and set it off to dry. Now I think I want to come back to this is kind of a coppery Liquitex Basics in the bronze. It's a bronze color. And let's add in a little bit of this cream. Careful to not do quite as much as before. I have no idea if I'll one day do a journal that will have this color palette, but I don't worry about it. I just, throw stuff out and take chances, and that's what I encourage you to do. Just, play and surprise yourself. Notice I'm turning my brayer all different directions to get, I want it modeled and different, but I want to make sure I've got full coverage. And now let's see what we got. I think we'll use this one this time. This has some nice circles up there and some tags and bookmark. So let's plop this one down and hope for the best. Now if you print out a whole bunch of sheets like this that have templates on them, you will find it much easier to just play around. It's when you don't have much to work with that you tend to be more cautious, and that can really interfere with your creativity. Be wild. Don't care how it comes out. How it comes out is how it comes out, and how it comes out is just fine. And that's the best way to work with kind of an abstract background, if you will, for whatever you're doing with a gel plate. Just go wild, be free, try different things, and you'll be far more successful. Okay, I'm going to go with a spray now. This is Tim Holtz Walnut Stain. It's an oxide spray, and I'm going to add some plain water because I want to make sure it's good and wet and that it picks up nicely. So now let's throw a little blue back in there. And let's water that down a little bit too. And now I'm going to take the end of a, what did I do with it? I have a fat, oh dear, where did you go? By the way, guys, I hope everybody had a really nice Thanksgiving. I didn't have such fun. I fell at my son's house and injured myself quite a few different places. I'm doing fine, so don't, be concerned, but it was a rough Thanksgiving for me. Now I'm just using the end of a paintbrush, and I had a real thick end. I guess this is, no, that's not it either. I don't know what I've done with it, but I had something that was nice and thick, which I prefer. But okay, so then I'm just, squiggling it around and moving the paint here and there, and let's see what we got. I don't care if I get the back grungy in this case, because this is just going to be glued to a sheet of clean cardstock. So here you see we got more of a watercolor effect. It was a little heavy on the brown, but that's okay. This is going to give nice contrasting colors to some of the other sheets. You don't want everything to look the same. And I think I'm just going to try and take a ghost print of this and see what we have, since my plate is pretty wet. Okay, see, the ghost print has given me a pretty mottled effect, and I like that. Do I want to do anything else to it? Let's turn it around here. Let's just give certain sections a little bit of a blue tint. Okay. Just enough to have a second color in there. And yeah. Now, you see, when you have all different kinds of backgrounds, you can then leave it like this, and you could decorate straight on the sheet. I like to cut them out so that I know exactly what my shape and size is, and then I decide if I'm going to give the ephemera any further decoration, because you can always come in now and once they're cut out, add some additional ephemera or pieces, and collage on top of the background, or leave the background as is, and it's your choice. So that's okay. I've done all the sheets, and you saw how fast that went. And so now I'm going to let them dry, and then I'll come back and we'll cut them up and see what we have. Okay? So I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I got my gel plate all cleaned up and ready to go back in the plastic sleeve that it came in. Very important to store, whether you're cleaning it or you're leaving substance on it. Make sure you always store it in the plastic container so that it doesn't get harmed in any way when not in use. And you know, it's just an easy and practical way to keep it nice for yourself for the future. So we're going to get rid of all these paints and sprays so we have room to work here. I think that's it. I got this one over here. So pardon me while I do a little bit of house cleaning. Alright. As you can see, I'm a bit messy, and it will come off in due time. So let's look at what we have here. And it's probably mostly dry. And so this was the last sheet. And then we had this. This one's still pretty damp. One of those sprays has a kind of a sheen to it. So that's turning out nice. It's drying lighter than it was when it was really wet. Here's the next one. A little stuck here. Again, we don't care how the back looks because we're going to be gluing it to a piece of cardstock. And then this was the first one we started with. So they're not 100% dry, so I'm going to take a little bit of time and just help them along a little bit. So I'll be back when they're nice and dry. Okay, you can see I have a sheet of white or near white cardstock, and here's my dried sheet. So I'm going to take each sheet and glue the back. I can kind of see through it a little bit to know where I've got ephemera drawn in there. Up here are those big circles. Then I've got some stuff down here the side. You don't have to glue the entire sheet, just try to make sure you glue down the part that you're going to be cutting out, you know, the templates themselves. And I just use a inexpensive stick glue. And, you know, just go over it real good. You can see how it would be much simpler to print the templates on cardstock and then skip this stage. But if you're new and you're not accustomed to using gel plates and you're a little bit timid, you know, feel free to use the least expensive paper that you can buy and experiment with. You know, the more you do this, the better at it you will become. It's been a while since I've done anything with a gel plate, at least on camera. Okay, see, so now that one's done, and so I've got a couple more to do, and I'll be back after I finish those. Okay, all the sheets are glued down to cardstock, so it'll be nice and clean on the reverse side. So now you'll be able to see the outline that is there, so you can cut it out. And this is why it's important to make sure they're dry, because they're a lot easier to cut if your paper is good and dry. And, you know, just easier all the way around. Got a little damp spot there, giving me a little trouble. So I like to save the edges, because even though this isn't going to be anything that I will use probably at this time, I save these because look how cool that is. I mean, you know, you never know when you're going to need something. I might glue some of those pieces down on top of the ephemera itself, or, you know, just save it to use at another time. And so that's cool. You know, it's like very little of this process winds up going to waste, because I will somewhere along the line find a use for these end pieces. Okay, so they're worth saving. So now this is the one that had the three tags, all the same size. And I don't recall if this is the one that I squirted with some additional blue ink or not. See how great that is? You know, when you get them cut out and separated, you'll be amazed with what you wind up with. Particularly if you've used several colors together and, you know, it's kind of splotchy and mixed up. If you don't go different directions when you're mixing it, then you're going to have just a wash of one dominant color, and that's not going to be a very interesting background. So that's why I like it modeled, or a combination of. And see, this one has more ink and paint on it than the other one, and that's fantastic, because you don't want them to look all one color, and you also don't want them to look pretty much the same either. So now obviously, you know, maybe it goes without saying that it's easier to turn around and see where your cutting lines are if the paint is more pastel. When you get dark like this, it gets trickier to see where you need to cut out. Okay, so here's another one. And I first kind of check and see what I try to cut in such a way that I have nice big end pieces to use at another time, instead of a bunch of small pieces. So I advise you, you know, to get the most out of your work and have something left over to use in another way. I think is important to do. You don't have to save them if you don't want, but now, even though this is kind of some lighter paint, you know, maybe the point is that it's not necessarily whether it's dark or light value, it's whether there was an excessive amount of paint applied that's making it more difficult to see the lines. But it's not that difficult to you know, even if part of a line is can't be seen anymore, you just have to do your best to cut where you're supposed to cut. So now this can be a nice bookmark, or it could be cut into smaller pieces and glued on to another back. Now notice how they're all curling. I don't know if you can see that, but you know, take a look at this. You see how they're curling? Don't worry about that because it's pretty easy to straighten out. The reason they're curling is that when you add the paint and other elements like, you know, the ink onto one side, you've interrupted the balance of the card itself. And so, you know, anytime you add anything that has a little bit of weight to it, it's going to cause your card to curl. So, you know, you can just press them out, straighten them out by hand like I'm doing, and then, you know, put some weight on it, put some books on them, you know, turn them upside down and put some weight on it to help it fully dry flat, because you do want them to be flat. But you see, it's not difficult to iron out that curvature just by going the opposite direction several times. Okay, now they may curl back up on me before I get a weight put down on them, and that's okay. I can just straighten them out again later. What am I cutting out here? I think it's just a large bookmark. You can always refer back to a sheet that has not been painted. I think I'm just going to leave that the way it is. Okay, now I have a large tag here. Okay, so there's a large tag. I'm going to cut right across here. This could be a bookmark, or I see some lines there, so I think that it's a narrower tag. Even these little slivers, I will say, because maybe at some point I'll see some bare spot at the bottom and I want to glue it there, or I want to, you know, glue something along the side here. You know, there's ways to use these small pieces, and so they are definitely worth saving. Now here we've got the circles, and I'm just going to freehand cut these. I think maybe I might have a cutter that would do this, but I'm a little concerned about the thickness. I've totally ruined one expensive cutter of circles that were bigger than these by trying to cut through some either heavier weight paper or maybe some lightweight fabric, and it was amazing how easy it was to completely destroy my tool in the process. So I've become real hesitant about using a tool to cut circles, because those little cutting tools are not inexpensive, and I was really angry with myself for taking the risk that I shouldn't have taken. So now I resort more to freehand cutting. You know, we're in the junk journal business, and so being unprecise, ill-precise, not being precise is quite okay. So here's my 3 little circles, and how I will wind up using them I don't know right now, but I'm, you know, just happy I have them. And somewhere along the line, I will find a use for them. Okay, so now here is the one that looks a little bit more like it's been marbleized. And so let's see what we get out of here. I try to cut right on the line, or if that's not possible, then just inside the line so it doesn't show in the final product. Okay, isn't that beautiful? Now that, you know, because it is more tone on tone, a little bit more marbleized looking, a little bit heavier, I will no doubt come back and glue some other ephemera on top to dress it up. Maybe something blue. I really like it when you get the pastel coloring in there because it starts looking transparent and more like watercolor, and I think that's beautiful. These two have the hole marked on them already. Let me cut this one out quickly so you can kind of see them as a pair. Similar yet different. Okay? See? Just really soft and smooth. This one, of course, is darker, but this one, I just love the transition from the medium dark value into the real light value down here. That transition, I hope you can see it, is just beautiful. Okay, I'm going to cut these small things out later. Anyway, I just wanted to give you some good perspective. I'm only going to cut one of these out. Actually, I'm going to go to this one. Now, this one was the first one we did, which was really heavy on the paint. But let's see, looks really messy and ugly at this stage, but let's see what we get once we eliminate some of it and we see a shape actually take place. Okay, see how interesting that is as a background for a tag, which you could leave as is. Maybe put an orange or some orange and brown ribbon there once you get a hole put in. And actually, I see an orange heart right there. That's kind of cool. Although I usually don't like something representational on it, but it's still cool. I mean, it just looks very abstract and painted very loosely, and that's terrific. Okay, now what else have we got here? This one is pretty dark. So I'm going to have to study the actual template too. I see a few lines in here, but not enough to want to go ahead and cut. So we'll put that one aside and come back to here. And so here we've got this is where we've got the postcard. Okay, so see, that will be the back of another postcard. Or I could just leave it as it is as an art card. Or it could be folded in half and used as a cover for a small journal. Wouldn't that be nice? See that on the cover, and then that's on the back, and then put some pages in between. So there's, you know, you can do different things with the shapes, particularly that type of shape. And this is the small pocket with the flaps on the back so that you glue the flaps down to your journal page, and then you've got a pocket that will allow you to stuff quite a few things in it because it sits away from the page by the width of the little flap on each side and at the bottom. But you know, you can make your own templates. If you go to my Etsy shop, I do have some kits with templates already made and ready for you to purchase at a nominal fee, and you know, download it, and then you can make as many as you want once you have the files. Or, you know, just make templates of your own. This is just one way to get fast ephemera made using a template of some sort. The other way I've done videos on where I have the templates are made out of soft acrylic gel, and I don't know if it's so soft, but anyway, I have the templates made out of transparent acrylic, and then I can just lay them down like a pattern. Just lay down and trace the shape out using the transparent templates. So if that's of interest to you, you can just stop by my Etsy store and you'll find it there. So here is the template for the one pocket that I made, which you can take a bone folder and just kind of press down on the dotted line to help you fold it in the right place. Okay, so then you just fold the flaps back. Okay, so you've got the flaps and the back, and then you just turn it over and you glue your back to the flaps on the other side, and now you've got a nice little pocket there. And you can fold down the top, leave it up, your choice, but this is how the little pocket will look. And then you can add more decoration to it, however you like. And, you know, like there's probably, you know, you could take one of the circles that has maybe quite a bit of orange in it, and you could glue that down, glue part of it down, change where you know, and you can add something like that. You could cut off like a big section of that and, you know, put it across and add something like that. So there's many different ways you can look through your stash of ephemera and put something representational down, glue it down on it, and, you know, just have fun being even more creative. So this gives you a ton of different types of ephemera to use in your journals and do so quite quickly. I mean, the more pages that you print your templates on, the more you can have in one sitting, and it doesn't take all that long. And it's a nice, relaxing type of project to make. Okay, so that'll be it for this video. If you stayed with me this long, I thank you very much for your patience and for your, you know, just staying with me and keeping me company as I walk us through this method. And so thank you very much. If you found the content helpful to you, please, you know, give the video a like and share it, and leave a comment on what you think and feel, and ask a question, whatever. I try to get back to everyone. So thanks so much. I will end it here. So this is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.